was nasty to me? Michelle Obama. She was, ooh. I always tried to be so nice and respectful. Oh, she opened up a little bit of a box. She opened up a little bit of something. Oh, she was nasty. Ooh.
Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head.
Nasty. He used that word 3 times across 3 separate occasions, aimed at a woman who has never once, in any public forum, on any stage, in any interview, said his name, not once. And that is the part that made him lose control, because Donald Trump can handle insults. He can handle investigations. He can handle courtrooms, impeachments, and indictments. What he cannot handle is being treated as though he doesn't matter enough to name.
If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will if we don't make a change in this election.
Which country are you watching this from right now? Drop it in the comments, because the way Michelle Obama responded to these attacks is being studied in communications programs across 3 continents. The pattern started in 2016. Michelle Obama delivered a speech at the Democratic National Convention, a speech that would become one of the most quoted political addresses of the decade. She stood at the podium. She talked about raising daughters in the White House. She talked about the responsibility of leadership. She talked about what children learn when they watch how powerful people treat other human beings. And then she said the line that rewrote the rules. When they go low, we go high. She never said who they was. She didn't need to.
How we insist that the hateful language they hear from public figures on TV does not represent the true spirit of this country. How we explain that when someone is cruel or acts like a bully, you don't stoop to their level. No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
Every person in that arena and every person watching at home filled in the name themselves. And that was the weapon, not the accusation, the absence of one. This is grounded in real speeches, documented public statements, and a pattern of exchanges that spans nearly a decade, told as narrative, because some strategies only reveal their full power when you trace them from the first move to the last. Trump's response was immediate. He called her overrated. He called her speech boring. He called her nasty. He posted about her multiple times, each post escalating in language, each one proving by its existence that the speech had landed exactly where it was aimed. But Michelle Obama didn't respond to a single post, not one. She didn't retweet. She didn't issue a statement. She didn't appear on cable news to defend herself. She moved on to the next speech, the next event, the next initiative, as though the attacks existed in a dimension she had chosen not to visit. And that silence was devastating, because for a man who measures his power by the reactions he provokes, the absence of a reaction is the one thing that cannot be spun into victory. He couldn't claim he rattled her. She never acknowledged the attacks. He couldn't claim he won the exchange. There was no exchange. He couldn't claim she was afraid. She was on stage the next week, drawing larger crowds than his rallies. The silence left him swinging at air, and every swing made him look smaller. Then came 2024, the Democratic National Convention, and Michelle Obama stepped back onto the stage. If you are watching this and you want to see more moments where silence hits harder than any insult, subscribe and hit that like button, because what she said next is the part that broke the internet. 8 years had passed since when they go low, we go high. 8 years of attacks, 8 years of posts, 8 years of the word nasties being thrown at her, like it was supposed to leave a mark. She walked to the podium. The ovation lasted over a minute. She waited the way only someone who doesn't need the applause can wait, and then she began speaking. She talked about her mother, about the South Side of Chicago, about dignity as a practice, not a performance. She built slowly, layer by layer, until the room was so quiet that her whisper carried to the back wall. She said, "Who is going to tell him that the job he is seeking might just be one of those black jobs?"
I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
The arena detonated. Not polite applause, not partisan cheering. The raw, visceral, full-body eruption of an audience that had been waiting years to hear someone say something that precise, that calm, that impossible to answer. And she still had not said his name. Not once in the entire speech. She said him, she said he, she said a certain candidate, but never the name, because saying the name would have given him what he wanted: relevance, acknowledgement, proof that he occupied space in her mind the way she clearly occupied space in his. The clip traveled faster than any political moment of 2024. It was shared millions of times. Within hours, it was replayed on every network. It was quoted in newspapers across 4 continents. And the line that people kept coming back to wasn't even the black jobs line. It was what she said right before it. She said, "There is a certain kind of leader who confuses noise with power, who thinks cruelty is the same as strength, who believes that tearing someone down is the same as building yourself up." She paused. And in that pause, millions of people heard the name she never said. Trump's response arrived that night. Posts calling her overrated. Posts calling the speech boring. Posts insisting he didn't watch, while quoting specific lines from it. The exact same pattern. The exact same words. 8 years later, and the playbook hadn't changed. But the audience had, because this time, nobody was looking at his posts. He was shouting into a room that had already left. And that is the thing Michelle Obama understood. You don't defeat a man who feeds on attention by giving him more attention. You defeat him by becoming the thing the audience remembers instead. She never said his name. She never matched his volume. She never descended to the level he kept inviting her to. And every time he called her nasty, he reminded the world that he was still thinking about a woman who had already stopped thinking about him. Subscribe to the Narrative Brief and turn on notifications. She never said his name. She didn't need to. The patterns speak. We just slow them down.